If you saw the thumbnail, you already know we're making grilled cheese. But I just want to stress to you that this is so different than the grilled cheese that you know. Welcome to episode 2 in our food truck recipe series, and today we are making what we called the ooey gooey. This is a southern style pimento grilled cheese, and it is not served on regular white bread, my friends. No, no, no. It is served on homemade marble rye, and we are making it right here today. So let's just get into it. All right, first things first, we are gonna get our bread going. So get yourself 3/4 of a cup of lukewarm water. If it's too hot, it's gonna kill the yeast. Then to that, we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of active dry yeast. Then measure yourself out 8 ounces of bread flour. Follow that by 4 ounces of light rye flour. Then some molasses, 1 tablespoon of molasses, teaspoon of kosher salt, teaspoon of caraway seeds. Mix it just to combine, and then once your yeast is bloomed, add the wet mixture to the dry mixture, and we're gonna mix it on low speed just to combine, adding a teaspoon of oil and a tablespoon of water as needed till that forms a ball. And then knead that on medium speed for about 5 to 10 minutes to build up some gluten. You should have a nice springy dough when you're done. Then we're gonna oil a bowl, form that dough into a nice tight ball, and then just cover both sides with oil. Cover it with plastic wrap and let it rest while we make our second dough. That's right, I said 2 doughs because that's the marble part of marble rye. This recipe is exactly the same except for the addition of 1 tablespoon of unsweetened cocoa powder. So we're gonna mix all the dry ingredients together, add in our yeast water mixture, and if you have a little yeast stuck to the bottom of the bowl, no worries, just add a teaspoon of water and mix it together with your finger. Once that's all kneaded, we're going to form it into a ball, and just like before, cover it with oil and let both of these doughs rest for at least 1 hour or until doubled in size like this. We are going to make 2 different loaves of bread today. This first one being in a traditional loaf pan. So take both of your dough balls and cut them in half, and then set half aside covered. We're going to use that for the second loaf. And we want to roll these out into 6 by 6 rectangles and then lay them on top of each other. And we're going to roll it up into a nice tight log, pinching the seams and then making sure that it's the same size as a well-oiled loaf pan. Set that in there, cover it with plastic wrap, and let that rise while we make our second dough. So this is called bucket bread. It's made the same way, but I'm going to form this into a nice ball. And this is what we used to buy for the food truck, and it somehow makes a perfectly round slice of bread. I'm going to try baking it in this well-oiled casserole dish and see how it comes out. While the bread proofs for a second time, I've got some white cheddar, sharp cheddar, and mild cheddar cheese, and we are going to start making our pimento cheese. So cube that all up and add it to the bowl of your favorite food processor. And then to that, we're going to add some pickled red onions, half of a roasted red pepper, and then about a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise, and we're going to blend this all together until it's smooth. If it's a little too thick, I like to add a splash of the roasted red pepper brine. And then when you're done, you should have the most amazing creamy cheese spread that is perfect to top burgers with, or even throw it inside some grits. Once your dough is again doubled in size, go ahead and remove the plastic wrap, and we're going to bake it in a preheated 350-degree oven on the center rack for about 40 to 50 minutes until it's nice and lightly golden brown, and the internal temperature is 200 degrees. Brush it with some melted butter and then let that cool for 1 hour. Once your bread is completely cooled, and before we start building our sandwich, feel free to just cut right down the middle of the loaf just to see how good of a job you did. Alright. And then this is what we're going to use to make our sandwich. This is how we used to get the bread on the food truck. So I'm just going to cut off the ends and get 2 slices. In retrospect, I probably wouldn't make this again just because it proved incredibly difficult to slice unless you have a professional slicer. But for authenticity purposes, this is what we're using today. So layer on about a 1/4 cup of pimento cheese on each side of the bread. And then on top of that, we are going to add our pickled onions and pickled poblano peppers. And you could do it just like this, but if you want to take it to the next level, I got something for you. We used to top this with braised beef, but some nice thin slices of New York strip steak will work just fine, and we're going to get it over to the stove. Because these slices are so huge, I've got 2 pans set over medium heat, and we're just going to let these cook until it gets nice and bubbly around the edges, and then attempt to flip just like that. Alright. And then we're going to flip it again, get it nice and crispy on both sides, and then make sure that cheese melts all the way through. After all this, I would be a terrible person to not cut this in half for you and just show you how deliciously gooey and melty it is on the inside. But the number one question is, how does it taste? And I'm telling you, this is spot on to what we used to have on the food truck. I am so impressed with how this bread came out, and if you have a day off and you want to indulge yourself with some really good comfort food, definitely give this recipe a try. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Jim with Doesn't Pay Full Price, and I'll see you next time.